Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fourth Tier Fever. Now, this is it. The final match day of the season is very much upon us, and there's still quite a lot of stuff to play for. An automatic promotion spot up for grabs, a league title still to be won, and there's a couple of playoff spots to be decided. But before we jump into all the talking points, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I'm mixing my words up already because I'm still getting a little bit nervous. Hit that like button and download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. We're jumping straight into it because we have a lot to get through. Obviously, I wasn't there on Sunday, so yeah, it might have been a good thing for you people. You know, if you're probably sick of hearing me, you probably are. So it was a shame I couldn't get my thoughts on about Grimsby and K Dons from obviously last Saturday. But I mean, look, Luke was very much aware. And probably so was Jake with the messages that I was putting in the chat. But they're both joining me this evening. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd imagine that Jake might be a little bit more, you know, how nervous are you? I can imagine Luke is probably like -4 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nice and relaxed. I'm pretty much on the beach, despite being in pretty much the most central, like UK location I could possibly be in. I'm very relaxed. I'm very much looking forward to this Saturday.
Jake's how's things? You know, Salford need a win.
Yeah, I keep looking at that league table and it's not changing, but I still keep looking at it, keep getting nervous, ready for Saturday, but hopefully we'll get over the line.
It's just making the week go even slower. I've tried to not look at it, to be quite honest, because it scares me every time I do, knowing that the fact that a Grimsby win will see us make the top 7. But we'll get into all of that in a little bit. There's a few bits to get through tonight. Let's start with the EFL Awards that took place the other night. I know a few weeks ago when the awards were announced, we touched on, I think, more the players and the manager a little bit. I think it was more the manager of the season that we were talking about. Not really so much the players that were mentioned. Let's have a look at the managers, because of course, if you remember, the 4 nominees for manager of the season was Graham Alexander, of Bradford City, Darren Moore of Port Vale, Matt Sadler of Walsall, and Andy Woodman of Bromley. The award eventually went to Graham Alexander. Thoughts, gents?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a reasonable one. He was always one of the more likely ones to get it, in my opinion. Essentially took Bradford from this side that underperformed massively, ends up finishing mid-table with the time, to the point, well, I mean, they're not quite there yet, but they're up there and they're in the mix of the autos. And I mean, obviously, we don't know the outcome of all of this, so it could look very silly if they end up missing out and then somehow not getting promoted. But for the most part, he's done a very, very good job there, and he's built a side that looks quite formidable in this league, or at least for a while.
Jake, obviously, you know Graham Alexander from your time from his Salford City days. Was it the correct winner, would you say? Because obviously you got Darren Moore in the mix as well. Obviously, Port Vale's promotion was confirmed last week. There's still a chance they could still win the league. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think it is the right person to win Manager of the Year, because there was a lot of pressure on Darren Moore, and the expectation was that he got them promoted and put them in the position that they are now. And although there's always pressure on Bradford, we've seen over a number of years that they haven't been able to get over the line, and that's what Graham Alexander looks like he's going to do. So he's probably the right person to win it.
Yeah, I think there's always been pressure on Bradford, and certainly Port Vale. I think this season with the summer they had, I think we all expected Port Vale to be up there. It's not taking anything from Darren Moore. I mean, his side are potentially 90 minutes away from winning the league, which is still a great achievement in itself. But I think you look at Graham Alexander, I think, you know, this is a Bradford side that have been quite stagnant in League Two. They had that season where they made the playoffs, but you know, they haven't really done a great deal, and they played some good stuff along the way, especially at home at times this season. Obviously, they can still get automatic promotion themselves. I do think, though, if they do miss out on promotion, is a little bit weird. I think maybe in that sense, it probably would have been more deserving for Andy Woodman. I was quite critical of his selection at the time. I think maybe I was a little bit too harsh, but I think the fact that I was looking at the Woodman pick as this is what I half expected Bromley. I think a lot of people had them like near the bottom. I expected him to do all right, and I know that, you know, other than, you know, a few weeks ago, they were still in this playoff conversation. So they've done a brilliant job. You know, and Woodman deserves a lot of credit for that because he's done a terrific job there, and he continues to do a terrific job there. I'm glad Matt Sadler didn't win it, to be quite honest. As excellent as you were for the first half of the season, that can't be sort of like, I don't know, the for the second half of the season, because 2 wins in 20 tells its own story. Though it's clear, manager of the season, and he hasn't done it for a whole season. And to be quite honest, if I'm Walsall, I think Sadler should be sacked if they don't go up, because the collapse has been quite astonishing. I don't think he deserved to win the award as good as they were first half. So I don't have too many complaints with Alexander. I think you can see what he's trying to do there. What he has done there has been quite good. I think, but like I said, I think if Bradford were to get promoted, I think he'd be more rewarding of that. I think, because like I said, I expected Port Vale to be up there. I expected Darren Moore to have a very good season with them, and it's exactly what they've done. I mean, look, player of the season, Michael Cheek, was great to see him win it, to be quite honest. I've banged the drum on Michael Cheek all season. You know, he's nearly he's 33, 34 or something like that, mid-30s. His first season in the EFL, and he's taken it like a duck to water. He's had a terrific first season at this level for him. I saw Nathan Lowe won the Young Player of the Year. I know Nathan Lowe was nominated for the Player of the Season, but here's my gripe. If you're nominated for Player of the Season, I think you probably should be in the Team of the Season as well, and Nathan Lowe wasn't. So I don't see the sense in that, and I'm sort of half glad that Nathan Lowe didn't win it, as terrific as he was first half of the season. I'm delighted to see Cheek win it, to be quite honest. I think he's very deserving of it. What have you made of that? Do you probably agree with what I said there with Nathan Lowe?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. These awards are Team of the Season, Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, not half the season. I mean, yes, he was very good for that half season, but there are other players that perhaps probably should have been acknowledged instead because they've been here the whole time. That's sort of the way I'd put it. Yes, he was very, very good for that, for that half season, and is, as we found out, a lot of the reason Walsall are up there. But he's not been there the whole time. It's as simple as that. I can't get around that fact. There are other players that have been there for a full season and have had that impact for the full season, not just half of it, and then left your team in the dust. So that's probably the way I'd add it up.
Yeah, and I think it was Jake that pointed out that Louis Barry in League One, terrific with Stockport first half of the season. He went back to Vale, who eventually went to, I think, Hull, wasn't it? In the Championship. He was nominated for the Player of the Season, but didn't make the Team of the Season. It just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. As good as they were, the first half season, and Louis Barry looked unplayable in League One in the first half. I just don't think, it's just not for me. But Michael Cheek, I've just mentioned it. How good's he been then? Because he is, proper bags man.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal for Bromley, and it's the reason that their playoff push has actually lasted so long. Obviously, everyone knew he was going to come into this league and score goals because that's what he's done for a number of years in the National League. But I don't think anyone quite thought he'd have the season he has. So does he deserve Player of the Season? Probably. But would I have given it to Luke Molyneux? Probably. However, there was the expectation on Luke Molyneux and not on Michael Cheek this season.
Now you've mentioned it, I've completely forgot that Luke Molyneux was the other player nominated. Like I said, I'm delighted to see Cheek win it. I'd have personally gone for him. I'd have personally gone for Molyneux. I think he has just taken the mickey out of this league at times this season. But I'm not complaining with Cheek, to be honest. It feels like I've got something against Nathan Lowe, but I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, I actually personally think that Cheek does 100% deserve it, just because, if you take Molyneux out of that Doncaster side, they're still a very good side. They're just missing a star player. If you take Cheek out of that Bromley side, where are they? Probably bottom 2 or thereabouts. he is so instrumental to everything they've done, and I think it's that sort of influence that is a huge part of the reason why he got it, and for me, why he deserves it over anyone else.
Yeah, you make a very good point actually, because at Doncaster you still got the likes of Gibson, Sabars, Billy Sharp. I know that they're all different players, but they've still got quality like Billy Sharp and all that. And a few other players who've had very good seasons, like even the likes of Aloha when we're looking at Jamie Graff. Are obviously different types of players to Molyneux, but what I'm trying to say is good players. I'm struggling to to be fair, I do agree with you. I'm struggling to see where Bromley would be without him. He's easily been their best player. I think Danny Imre's been a close second, but he's certainly been their best player and the reason why they're up there. Let's have a quick look at the team of the season very quickly. In goal, we've got Owen Goodman at AFC Wimbledon. You've got a back four of Connor Barrett and Taylor Allen, both of Walsall. Get in. I said his name right. Some might remember. Also in centre half, you've got Connor Hall at Port Vale. Left back, you've got Denver Hume of Grimsby, one I'm delighted to see. Your midfield, you've got Richie Smallwood of Bradford. Jack Payne there is in there from Colchester. Luke Molyneux had to be in there from Doncaster. And then you've got David McGoldrick in there from Notts County. You've also got Alexandra Chatterin from Notts County and the aforementioned Michael Cheek as well from Bromley. To be honest, I don't think there's really many complaints in there because they've all had very good seasons in one way or another in there, mainly their specific area. But yeah, I can't really complain too much with a lot of that actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of those picks are reasonable. To be fair, I think there's a couple of players that I personally would have liked to have seen make the cut. I think, for example, Joseph Alohu, Doncaster centre back, he's been immense. And I mean, obviously, they're now without him, I think he's injured for the end of the season, which is a huge shame. But I think he's been absolutely fantastic. I think if you're looking at a younger player, George Abbott as well, although it's tricky with how good that midfield is in that team. And then Lawrence Alai, Port Vale, he's just a fantastic all-around forward, and I think perhaps deserves a bit more credit, I'd say, and perhaps could have been in ahead of probably McGoldrick of those guys up front. That's just my opinion.
I think, yeah, maybe, but I don't think Notts are anywhere near where they are without him. And some of the goals he has got this season they've been quite good.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But then they do also have Jatta there as well. So it's a case of I think one or the other makes sense. Both, maybe not so much.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Jatta scores goals. He does score goals, and I don't think there's many complaints with him in the team this season. I don't think he's half as important as someone like David McGoldrick is for Notts County. That's just my personal thought. So I can see why he's in there, but I can also see that why you probably want to replace him with someone else. Yeah, look, Jack Payne's been excellent. Richard Smallwood's been excellent. Denver Hume at left back. It's great to see a Grimsby player in there, and it's quite a rarity. In an EFL team of the season. Obviously, one I'm pleased for him, and he deserves that. A couple of Walsall in there. Luke Molyneux was a no-brainer. Yeah, any quick thoughts on that, Jake?
Yeah, I think the team's pretty decent, and you could argue that they all deserve to be in there. Obviously, like Luke said, you could argue Talaj, Alohu could be, but I don't think there can be many people with too many complaints.
Yeah, I perfectly agree, and I do agree with some of those other picks. I really like Talaj as well. I think he's probably coming in. He's always coming to his own when he has played for Port Vale. Especially these last few months. I think you really see how good of a player he is. I was impressed with the signing at the time, and I'm not surprised he's done very well there. So that's the EFL Awards. Let's have a quick look at the EFL League Table. No, the FTF League Table. Yes, we do. Because that result it doesn't confirm that you're bottom. Actually, because I forgot that Kieran and Jack, Newport and Tranmere still have to play each other. But the 0-0 draw between MK Dons and Grimsby Town last Saturday has confirmed that Jake has won it. To be quite honest, I'm glad we haven't finished bottom. That was just the main thing I wanted from that. It looks quite. In fact, no. Luke has finished bottom. There's no likely about it.
It's still possible if Newport beat Tranmere, preferably by a 2-goal margin, so it doesn't get
Never mind, ignore
complicated.
me. Yeah, ignore me. They need. Yeah. Who's at home? Is it Newport? You know,
Yeah, so
if
Newport
they're
play
at,
Tranmere in this final game. As long as Newport win that, I
Newport
don't
might
know
have a
what
chance
the permutations are if we're both on -3 and 7, and then 7 points. I don't know what happens at that point, but it's still possible to not
that's just
finish
more
bottom.
work for me.
Yep.
Just going to be awful. At least we haven't got to the point in which we'd have won. Was it 3-0 or 2-0? No, it was 2-0. The other day, in which I then have to work out who the hell wins it between me and Jake. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. We didn't even win the game either. So Jake confirmed to have won it. Like I said, we need to do something for the loser.
I disagree. I strongly disagree.
Say that.
Does the winner get anything?
I don't know. I said again, we've not really thought this through. I mean, if it was a Luke, I don't even know what I'd. What do we do? Loser, opposition team shirt, or look? Oh no, rivals team shirt. You see Luke in a Wimbledon shirt.
Absolutely not a chance.
They look pretty in blue.
No, that can't happen.
Yeah. So, yeah. Look, Newport and Tranmere play each other at the weekend. It's not going to decide a great deal, other than the fact that, in fact, no, the Kieran will finish third if they win. Which is quite annoying. But like I said, we've not finished bottom. Congratulations to Jake on winning it this season. Like I said, we need to do something for that. I'm sure we will. We'll find something. Shall we have a look at the teams that have been confirmed into League Two for next year? Because I know that's been quite a hot topic of conversation on Twitter over the past couple of days. The answer is yes or no, probably, because it's quite horrific. I think, putting it politely. So there are your teams for League Two that have been confirmed so far. Because, of course, last night, 2 further teams joined us in Crawley and Bristol Rovers. Both of their relegations from League One was confirmed, with Burton drawing with Wigan. We knew that, Barnet came up from the National League last week. Shrewsbury had been down for a little bit. Cambridge been confirmed to be relegated for, a little bit now. And, it looks horrific. Like, I'm trying to put a spin of it. Right, okay, I'm looking, like, I've been trying my best, right? I'm looking forward to going to this place or that place. There's not many I am. I mean, I haven't done Shrewsbury. I haven't done Bristol Rovers. God forbid, I'm yet to do Bromley to tick off. I mean, for me, none of them. I don't know. There's very few that if Grimsby is still in League Two and I'm going with them, there's very few I'm actually looking forward to. Tranmere's all right. I guess Harrogate's quite local, but he's not great. But I like Barnet, actually. I'm glad they're back up. That's a fun one for us. But other than that, it looks pants. It looks absolutely pants next year from the teams that have been confirmed. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just very, very bad. There's no other way of putting it. I mean, I'm not, even just from a quality standpoint, I'm not particularly bothered about any of the 4 coming down. I don't think any of them look much good, to be honest. There's a few decent individual players there, and obviously there'll be transfer windows and all the rest of it, but I'm not necessarily convinced by any of those. Barnet, I think, look all right. I've already said to you off air that I think Barnet could actually be a dark horse for playoffs next season. The league's going to be that weak. We've been saying the league's weak this season. Next season, it's going to be worse. It just is. Although, to be fair, the only one good thing is that the sides that are yet to be added to this list are the ones that are at the top end this season. So, there are those project sides, those sides that just missed out, that will and find themselves on this list as well, and that will make it look slightly better at least. But at the minute, I'm looking at this list thinking, if we're somehow not above all of these teams, I'm very, very worried. It's just bad.
I really hope we make the playoffs and then get promoted. because League One, from where I am, looks like heaven with the local sides. I mean, you've got Lincoln in there. Donny have gone up as well. You've got the likes of Rotherham, Huddersfield, a couple of others. Barnsley is there. There's a chance that Bradford could go up. It's League One North next season. Hull potentially coming down is great for us. So it's neither League One North or it's League Two South. That's just how I see it. But yeah, I think if I look at them at the minute, MK Dons have to be the front runner. I think they have to be by it.
Surely.
You'd like to think they'd be the front runner. I don't think we can.
Well, maybe the geography will come into it this time, because as you say, it was a northern league. It was a northern league this year, and it's going to be much more southern this time around. Yeah. So maybe that will help us. Less long away days. I don't know, all sorts of excuses, but I mean, there isn't an excuse to not finish above this lot.
Yeah, I mean, I do look at the sides in particular that have been relegated. I don't see Shrewsbury doing much. I don't really see Cambridge doing much, to be quite honest. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Crawley, I mean, I've got Scott Lindsay. I'm interested to see what Crawley do over the summer. That's one I'm going to keep an eye on. Bristol Rovers, if they get it right, I think they'll do all right. But, they have to correct some wrongs from this season because there's been way too many of them. Obviously, both Grimsby and Salford are not in this list at the minute because we still have something to fight for on the final day. But if he was to remain in League Two next season, Jake, what do you think of this monstrosity?
Yeah, it's not the prettiest of leagues I've ever seen, and I think it could be a record low amount of points for automatics and playoffs. Like this season's been lower than what it was last season, which was to be expected with who went up. But I can see it being 75 points for the automatics and less than that for playoffs, which just shows how poor it looks.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked the most League Two season ever. But, and there's a big but, it's possibly the most wide open it could be. I think, it could be a very exciting league, but I do take your point in which, there could be a record points low or a record low tally to win a league or get promoted or anything like that. I think if you're in the sides that are still fighting to be in the playoffs or God knows what, if they are in League Two next season, I think, they'll certainly fancy our chances. I'm a Grimsby fan, and I've been saying to you that I'm looking at that, and actually I'm starting to think I fancy our chances if we do stuff correctly. A lot of teams will think that. Salford might think the same. Chesterfield might. Colchester will. Notts County if they don't go up. Walsall, Wimbledon. Look, every one of them will think that if they don't go up. Obviously, they've got different things on their mind, which we are going to get to now. Right. So this weekend, it is the final day of the regular League Two season. It's been a battle. It's been a bit of a slog at times. It's sort of pretty much giving us every emotion. It's giving me every emotion. Probably Jake as well. I mean, Luke's been miserable for most of it. But I present to you, welcome, I'm listening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jordan Richards' Permutation Corner.
Hey.
This is the what we need tonight. We need some like berry music, like blah 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 or something like that. But hello, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to read out of these. I didn't actually think these through, and these actually need a clean. Which is something that I haven't done. It's probably quite fitting because it's been quite nice outside, even though it's pitch black now. So what's the point in wearing these? Right. Let's get into it. I'm going to try and get through these very quickly because there's a lot to get through here. Let's have a look at the top end of the table first. As we know, both Port Vale and Doncaster Rovers were promoted to SkyBet League One last week. Doncaster will win the league if they beat Notts County or that they match Port Vale's results. It's very much in Doncaster's hands at the minute. If Port Vale was to win and Doncaster fail to win at Notts County, they will instead win the league. So there's the top end of the table for fighting for the title. In terms of that last automatic promotion spot, there's one more up for grabs. Bradford hold the keys at the minute. They'll be promoted if they beat Fleetwood Town at Valley Parade. Simple. It probably won't be simple, will it? Because this is League Two we're on about. They'll also be promoted if they were to draw alongside Walsall and if Notts County fail to win. If Bradford lose, Walsall lose, and Notts County fail to win, Bradford will be promoted. I'm taking these off. I can't see. Walsall will be promoted if they better Bradford's results and that they match Notts County's results. So there's a chance that Walsall can still go up. If Walsall draw, Bradford lose, and Notts County draw, Walsall will be promoted on goal difference. Notts County could be promoted themselves on goal difference if they win, Bradford lose, and Walsall drop points. There's a lot there to digest into. You can see that I've nicked a TikTok from this, and I've done, I haven't figured this out myself because, to be quite honest, I'd be here all day. It's also worth noting that Walsall and Notts County, whatever happens, are guaranteed a place in the playoffs. Let's have a look because there's two other playoff spots up for grabs, and this is where it gets interesting from the teams fighting for it. AFC Wimbledon, they'll secure a playoff spot if they avoid defeat at Grimsby Town this weekend. Salford City will secure a playoff place if they beat already relegated Carlisle United. If Salford draw, they need Wimbledon to beat Grimsby and hope Chesterfield and Colchester drop points. As for Grimsby, they'll secure a playoff spot if they beat Wimbledon. If Grimsby draw, they need Salford to lose and both Chesterfield and Colchester to drop points to make the playoffs. Elsewhere, if Chesterfield beat Accrington Stanley, as well as Salford, Grimsby and Colchester all drop points, they'll make the playoffs. If Chesterfield draw, Salford would need to lose at Carlisle, Grimsby to lose to Wimbledon, and Colchester to drop points for them to reach the playoffs on goal difference. If Colchester beat Barrow, they'll make the playoffs. If Salford lose, Grimsby drop points, and Chesterfield drop points. The two relegation spots have already been decided elsewhere, both Morecambe and Carlisle United. Lads, I need a breather. Talk.
I didn't get all of that. Could you repeat it, please?
Oh, you're getting the bin.
Well, it's chaotic, isn't it? It's very chaotic. But I mean, from a neutral perspective, it's quite fun. I'm just enjoying watching you two stress out over it. To be honest, I'm just relaxing. Like I said, I'm just having a great time. Usually we'd be involved in some capacity for some other reason or something, but it's actually quite nice not having to worry. To be honest, yeah, I mean, it's impossible to predict. League Two has been. Everything that we didn't think could happen has kind of happened, which kind of just leaves me thinking I have no idea what we're going to do or how we're even going to predict this final round of fixtures, to be honest. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, a win for Salford will do it, Jake.
Yeah, I know. We really just need to win. There's no other outcome that will actually get us over the line because there's too many results that need to go our way. So just same as last week, get 3 goals in 25 minutes and everyone can sit there, have a nice time, knowing we're in the playoffs. None of this last-minute drama.
What do you think about Carlisle? They've already been relegated. There'll probably be a big crowd. I mean, it'll be the last time that those fans will get to watch those players that took them down, basically. I don't know. How do you think? Because maybe they might play with the handbrake off. Maybe perhaps that they're not expecting it as it's already happened. I don't know. Maybe that could fall into their favour. But I don't know. What do you think of that side?
Yeah, it's been a total shambles all season. I'm just hoping that they continue that for one more game and they don't play everyone that's out of contract and they have a game of their life to make them available in the market. But it's just been a disaster of 2 seasons now, and I think relegation is just an absolutely shambles of a season.
Yeah, and I wasn't there on the last one to voice my opinions on Carlisle's relegation. Just a season of terrible decisions. Recruitment's been poor. The appointment of Mike Williamson was just probably the worst appointment of the season, actually, and that's in a season in which Mark Kennedy's been involved in. Yeah, look, Grimsby have a chance. We need to beat Wimbledon. I do like the fact that we don't have to rely on anyone else. it's simple. Winner takes all between us and Wimbledon. Whoever wins that gets in the playoffs. That's just what it is. I don't, we could still make it with a draw. I do think it's very unlikely. I think we have to win. I do see some of the comments from the Wimbledon fans, from the past few games, does maybe give us a little bit of hope. We have beaten them this season. Chesterfield, I fully expect them to go to Accrington and win. So it certainly keeps that interesting. I don't think Colchester's game is a gimme. I think Barrow are a good team. And a lot of credit for, they've had quite a decent second half of the season, actually. They've picked up some good results along the way. Although whatever happens with Colchester, as much as it seems very unlikely with them, there's a lot of promise to take away for next season under Danny Cowley. That's pretty much it with that. I mean, Doncaster can win the league if they beat Notts. Notts can still get automatic promotion. I think they need quite a fair few things to go their way, though. Of course, Port Vale can still win it, and that last automatic promotion spot up for grabs between Bradford, Walsall, and Notts. To be quite honest, I do think Bradford will beat Fleetwood, especially at home. I just get that for me. I can't see Walsall winning. I can't see Walsall. I can't see Walsall winning. I swear that every time I've done predictions, they have been the one in which, I believe in them. They're going to win. I mean, I've sort of just given up hope after seeing them lose to Accrington. I mean, what's the point? This F1 car that they had has just completely, the wheels have come off the track, and that the whole body of the car has also come off with it. I don't know if that works, but I'm just saying things that's going through my mind. But that's pretty much where we are. I'll be surprised if Notts County do it. There's a lot there for them to do. It's not beyond the realms of impossible. I think that's pretty much it. From that, I mean, it's going to be a crazy weekend, whatever happens. It's been a crazy season. Let's see. We're probably going to get a blockbuster ending. It's the right way for the season to go. And we look forward to, eventually the playoffs. If this is the last time we see, the likes of Bradford or, Doncaster and Port Vale are already gone. But if this is the last time we see Bradford, Walsall or Notts, then we wish them well in League One. If not, I mean, any of them will be in the playoffs. And of course, we can update that table of teams that have been confirmed in League Two after the weekend, with more teams that have missed out on the playoffs. Any quick thoughts on that before we have a look at the predictions for this weekend's final day?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've pretty much just summarised the chaos perfectly. I think the only way I'd sort of mention with that auto thing, the only thing I'd mention there is just, I feel like if Bradford or Walsall ended up in playoffs at this point, I know things have been crazy and anything could happen, but I feel like both of those would struggle if they didn't go up automatically. I feel like with Notts, because they're the Hunters, they don't have that whole sort of disheartened squad sort of thing going on, because it was never, well, not that it was never a possibility, but it was never, that they were never that close to it. It's a case of they're just about on the edge right now. So I think they'd still be able to carry momentum through. But aside from that, I mean, trying to predict anything like that is not even going to try. All I'm going to do is predict these results and see what happens.
And take it as they go. Look, shall we go through what we think then from these final 12 games? Of course, some of these games mean more than others, but we do need to go through them, and we need to see what we think might happen. Let's start by one of the games that actually has something riding on it for one team. Chesterfield go to Accrington. I think I've already pointed out, I can't see anything less than a Chesterfield win. I think that's what concerns me, obviously, with Grimsby and obviously with Salford. I mean, it means nothing to us if we was to beat Wimbledon, but I do fully expect Chesterfield to go there and pick up 3 points. I just do. Accrington are safe. I mean, they picked up a good win at Walsall last time, but everyone takes points off Walsall at the minute. But yeah, I fully expect a Spy Rights victory.
In theory, yeah. I do think it's perhaps closer than you're letting on, just because Accrington are unbeaten in 4. And Chesterfield away in their last 2. Their last away game was at the 0-0 draw with AFC, and their previous one before that was the 4-0 loss to Tranmere. But I don't know. I think just the fact that they've got so much riding on this game, you'd hope that they would at least do their bit properly. So I am still going to back Chesterfield to win, but I think it's perhaps closer than you were implying there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Chesterfield will win it pretty much with ease because they just can't stop scoring for fun at the minute compared to Accrington, who are winning games, but it's always by 1 goal margin. So I think Chesterfield will win quite comfortably.
And that's what I'm thinking. Accrington are done. Their season's done. It's mathematically done. It wasn't last week at Walsall. I just think Chesterfield know what they need to do, and they've got the firepower to do it. And what they scored last week, was it 4 goals again? I mean, look, they're playing Morecambe. They scored 3 against Bradford. I do expect them to go there and score goals. I think they'll win this comfortably. I really do. But I can certainly see your argument for Accrington maybe being a closer game. Bradford at home to Fleetwood. Of course, it's, like I said, a win for Bradford, and they're automatically promoted. Obviously, Fleetwood don't have anything to play for. Their focus is full on for next season. It's a game in which I don't think will be a lot of quality. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals. Bradford haven't been on the best of form, but I've just got this feeling. I know I keep saying it with the home crowd, but they surely know the job they need to do, and Fleetwood are prone to a poor result. They have been they have had a fair few of those over the last few weeks. I think Bradford will win and they'll get 3rd place.
Yeah, I'd say that's reasonable. I'm looking at it now, and I mean, even though Bradford's form has taken a knock, their home form is still mostly intact. Yes, they've dropped points, but they haven't really been losing games aside from the Tranmere one. So I would expect them to get the job done at home. I think with the support there as well, as you've mentioned, I'd expect them to have enough. Fleetwood had a decent result last time out, but we know how streaky of a side they are. To get them to actually play well 2 games in a row, not convinced. I think this is a Bradford win.
Can I just say something as well? I know we've pointed out about obviously how they've done in the league and all that. I think this is a game where you just need to put that to one side. Treat this as a cup final. I think most teams will do that. That's sort of around there.
Yeah,
sorry, go for it.
That's what I was going to say. It's just cup final mentality that none of whatever's happened matters. None of the red cards, none of the stumbling over that they've had recently will count. They'll play at Valley Parade where they've lost twice with 25,000 fans. I think they'll get over the line.
And that's surely the inspiration you need. It's got to be. Anyway, Luke, what was you going to say?
I've lost my point now. I'm just going to... keep going. Let's just keep going.
Let's just keep going. Bromley, Cheltenham. Yeah, right. This is a sort of game in which nothing is riding on it. I think Bromley will win, to be quite honest. And what is a very good season for them with another 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, Bromley unbeaten in 3, Cheltenham unbeaten in 4. Game doesn't really mean much. This is probably going to be one of those ridiculous games where there's about 10 goals scored or something like that. I think just because Bromley are at home, I'm going to lean towards them, but wouldn't be surprised to see it go the other way.
I'm going to stay in the middle and say draw because both teams will just want to attack and they won't want to defend because they're both on the beach and they'll be happy with their season.
Yeah, not really much to say. Salford travel to Carlisle. Like I said, I think there's maybe this question mark. Maybe Carlisle's relegation has maybe taken the pressure off. It gives them an opportunity for some of those players to go out there and express themselves in what has been a terrible, terrible season for them. Salford know exactly what they need to do. They need to go there, pick up 3 points, go home, and are in that playoff spot. It's in, they hold the cards to it, sitting in that last place in the top 7. I think I can't see past Salford, to be quite honest. I'd love to try and make an argument for Carlisle, but I just can't, to be quite honest.
I think it's still relatively close because, again, Carlisle's home form is still actually okay. Yes, I know they've now been relegated, and mentally that's probably going to play some sort of factor. But then their home form has been decent. You'd hope that even though they're gone, they'd at least put up a fight in their final game in the EFL. You'd like to think so, because Carlisle still have, 40 players or so on the books. They're now playing for contracts that they're potentially even playing for a transfer back into the EFL. Otherwise, they're just straight up out of it. So in that regard, there is still a little to play for. Salford away, however, have also been very good in recent weeks. I think this is a tough one to call. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to say draw.
I honestly am so nervous for this game that I'm just praying that we just win. I just want to get in those playoffs. I thought our season was over a few weeks ago. Now we've still got a chance. Who knows? Just hopefully we get over the line.
Okay. Let's move on. I was trying to think of something there, but there's no point trying to dwell on it. Colchester play Barrow. There's still a chance for Colchester. It seems quite unlikely. Very unlikely, actually. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's a gimme playing Barrow. I think these last couple of months in particular, they've been very good. They've not lost a lot again. They've drawn a lot of them out quickly, what I'm going through here. I think it'll probably be decided by a goal. I actually do think Colchester will. It's hard to say because they've had injuries, haven't they? And the way that they lost to Salford last week, and the way that they sort of just, I don't know, they were 3-0 down in 24 minutes, weren't they? And I think that Colchester are missing, one or two key players. It'd be tight. Yeah, I'm gonna stick for what I was gonna say. I think Colchester will win. They'll end the season on a high, but they'll miss out.
Yeah, I mean, for my dark horse prediction's sake, I'd hope they'd win, but I think they've just run out of steam. To be honest, those last 2 games were the ones they had to win. If they were still up there in that 7th spot or something, then yes, I'd probably back them. I think they've taken a bit of a knock into their confidence now, run out of steam a little bit, as I said. And I mean, Barrow are unbeaten in 6. I think Barrow are going to win this.
I do agree that it'll be a really, really close game. That Colchester obviously know that they need to win, but too many results will need to go their way. Barrow, tough opposition. They can beat anyone on their day, so I'm going to go draw.
Yeah, I think whatever happens, it's a big, big ask for Colchester. But again, I think, from what I've seen from Colchester fans, that shouldn't, that they've had a season in which they could be proud of, and they've certainly made some great progress, and I expect them to come again next season under Danny Cowley. After, they've had quite a fair few years now where they've struggled at the bottom end of the table. There was a serious threat last year that they could have dropped out of the EFL if it weren't for Forest Green and Sutton not being so bad. Look, it's been a top season for them. They'll probably come again. In fact, no, I've got no doubts that they'll come again. They'll certainly, if they don't make the playoffs, which, like I said, is unlikely, certainly want to keep an eye on next season. I think they could do some good things. Crewe play Walsall. Crewe are done. Their season's done. The fall they've had has been quite disappointing. The fact that they're not competing themselves on the final day. And look, where do we begin with Walsall? The fact that they can still go up automatically, I think, is quite mad in itself. For the second half of the season they've had, 2 wins in 20. Like I said, I'm under the impression that if Walsall don't go up, I think they should sack Matt Sadler. That damage is just unrepairable. That's what I get from that. You can't have that drop off in any league. And on that sort of form as well, it's relegation form. I think it'll be a draw. I've tried to back Walsall for weeks on end. I thought last week was going to be it. I thought the week before that, where the play was at Newport, I thought they were going to do that. I can't remember if I did it against Harrogate as well. I thought they'd get something out of that, and they just haven't. And I don't know where you want me to go with them. And I think they'll draw, and it'll be playoffs for them.
Yeah, I can certainly see your reasoning for that one. It's tricky with Crewe because I think if Walsall hadn't had this huge monumental collapse, you'd actually be looking at Crewe's collapse and thinking, why aren't they in the playoff race?
I'm just looking at their form now, actually, and yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, they are atrocious at the minute, which is the one thing that's sort of drawing me in and being like, oh, maybe Walsall could finally do it. And it would be just such typical timing for them to win the game. Although I think I've already said Bradford to win, haven't I? So it wouldn't matter. But it would be very, very ironic timing if they were to win now and it wouldn't matter. So I'm actually going to back Walsall here.
I'm going to agree with Jordan and say the draw because Crewe have won 1 in 11. Walsall haven't won in 13. Two poor sides on paper. I think it'll just be a 0-0 draw.
Actually, I've just been sort of thought to myself again. What I said similar to what I said about Bradford. I mean, look, this is a cup final now for them, and obviously it's not in their hands. They need results to go their way. Elsewhere, maybe at a point where form might not matter, but it's hard not to look at that and think, really, are you really going to do it? Because, I mean, look, I don't know where you go with Walsall. What a terrible second half of the season they've had, and the fact that they're like we've banged the drum in this rages. The fact that they're in this position is mad. The bottle, the way they've fallen off. It's just the fact that they can still get automatic promotion on the final day, something that we didn't think was ever in doubt. Come the new year, it's just this has been League Two for you this season. It's pulled up a load of weird and wonderful surprises. We can all say that the quality in this and that has been awful. Yes, it has. But I mean that there's no words to describe this collapse. It's been quite something. But all eyes on Walsall that day. All eyes are on Blundell Park this weekend because, of course, Grimsby Town play AFC Wimbledon. It's simple. Winner takes all. For Wimbledon, a draw will be enough for them to make the playoffs. I feel that Grimsby have to win. I think anything less than that, I think there's still a chance we can make it if we draw, but, taking our, see what we need teams to slip up and how bad our goal difference is, it's very unlikely if we do that. But if we win, we're in it. And it's sort of similar to what I said about Colchester. This has been a fantastic season, whatever happens. I think maybe you do look at the last few games in which, we've lost games late on as we've conceded, late goals to drop crucial points. But, these, I think we've had a little bit of an unsuccessful, 3 or 4 games. We've had a very successful 45 games, I think, overall. Obviously, I'll be disappointed. I'd be over if we don't make it. I'd be over the moon if we did, because it's anyone's game there. And to be quite honest, I don't really want to predict. I just don't. I'm a nervous wreck coming into this. It's like I said. I've said for the last few weeks, Wimbledon. It's their spot has been very much up for grabs, and we could possibly do that. We have beaten them this season. That's another thing that I am going to try and remind myself. But it's a cup final for us. It's a cup final for them, although they don't have to win it necessarily for them to do it. It's a sold out Blundell Park. To be quite honest, I'd be quite happily if half those fans get turned away at the gate because we're awful in front of big crowds, as we have been this season. I'm scared to predict. I don't want to predict. Yeah.
We'll come back to you, but we're going to force it on you.
No, you won't come back to me. You will not come back to me.
I think we'll have to. There's a clip to be had right there. But no, I'll take over for now.
Just get it all out what you want to say. Deep down what you want to say here.
The stats would back me up in saying that, to be fair, AFC haven't won away in 4. and their last away win was Carlisle. So to me, that doesn't mean much. However, when you are looking at a head-to-head like this, it's not the form almost goes out the window. It's who's got more bottle. We had this situation last time we got promoted from this division, except it was for the auto spot. We were playing Mansfield on the final day, and it was the only thing that split us was a David Wheeler header, and it was just down to the spirit and the mentality of the two teams. I'd like to think that Grimsby have that a little bit more than this AFC side that have sort of been falling apart a little bit. We're seeing sort of cracks starting to show. You've seen the fan clips, a fan sort of arguing with, I think it was Johnson. Of course, I'm probably going to regret saying this now because I'll probably be wrong, but I am going to back Grimsby.
Yeah, I'm going to back Grimsby as well because the pressure's on Wimbledon because they are the side that will fall out and have been in there for so long. They've conceded like 35 goals, is it? So if you don't make playoffs with that record, there's been some fall off, which has seemed to be a weird little theme this season. So I think Grimsby will win it.
And that's the big thing. That's something I haven't mentioned about this. The pressure is all on them. They've been up there in the playoffs pretty much all season. There was absolutely no expectation to be anywhere near the position we are in. To be in with a chance of getting a playoff spot on a final day in the Football League, it's like I said, I've said it for a long time. It's something I've never seen as a Town fan. Never seen. And I'd be absolutely ecstatic if we do it. But like I said, it's not. The pressure's not on us this weekend. It's all on Wimbledon. And it looks like that they're faltering at the worst possible time. Quite a lot of stuff has happened. I think Johnny Jackson was sent off last week as well. You see that the players arguing with their fans. They're crumbling. But look, if they are to do it, fair enough. I'm not going to begrudge Wimbledon for it. And I wish them all the best in the world for it. I can't not say us. I can't not. Let's go. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Team. Who else will?
I'm relishing this opportunity. Let's give it a good shot. Let's see how we do. If we fall short, we fall short. It's as simple as that. Whatever will be. And seeing quite a lot of MK. I was with you last week, Luke. You're very much on our side right here. Get that black marker pen on your MK Don shirt and just draw a few stripes down it. I think that's what I think probably what you should
have to learn a few fish chants, put it that way.
You heard a few last week. In that way, that was a bloody loud away and that. Right, let's move on. We've drawn that one enough. Morecambe, Harrogate. Morecambe are down. Harrogate are safe. Something tells me that Morecambe might get a final day win. Win. It sounds like German. Yeah, I think Morecambe will get a win on their last game in the EFL. I don't know why. They're at home.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly what I was about to say. I mean, Morecambe have lost their last 5, but Harrogate away are just terrible. And again, this game means absolutely nothing. Maybe we'll finally see a bit of a free-flowing Morecambe football. It would be a nice way to at least sort of finish their season on a small high, I suppose. It's not exactly been a very positive season for them, but a small victory, I suppose, would be nice.
I'm pretty sure you've read my notes, surely, because that's exactly what I've put. Morecambe win, give them a little bit of optimism going into next season. Even though they've lost 5 in a row, I just have a weird feeling that they might win it.
Yeah, gives Morecambe a little bit of optimism going into next season. I mean, because it certainly doesn't seem a lot of it. I think you pointed out the other day, Jake, or I think I saw something that Derek Adams said that there's absolutely zero plan at the club at the minute. But of course, it's their final game in the EFL. And like I said the other week when I got relegated, obviously they'll play that game. We wish them luck internationally because that is a tough division to get out of, especially in their circumstances. A game that doesn't mean so much in the league, but does in the FTF table is Newport Tranmere. It's basically can Tranmere avoid being bottom? In Jack's case, I'm just going to go straight draw. It means Luke finishes bottom then.
I think I have to back Newport here, don't I? I don't really have much of a choice, which I don't really like because they've not won in 8. I'm kind of just hoping no manager bounce, basically, because they don't have a manager anymore.
Oh yeah, they sacked Nelson Jardim, didn't they? I forgot about
Yep, they don't have a manager. Maybe they'll suddenly start actually playing football. Would be nice. The only other thing that gives me a little bit of hope is Tranmere haven't won away in 4. So maybe it'll happen, and I just won't be bottom. That would be fantastic. Thank you very much, Newport.
I'm going to say a Tranmere win because Newport they've been on the beach for so long. They've been so poor that I just think Tranmere will do it.
Split opinions on that one. All eyes, like some other places, will be at Meadow Lane this weekend. Notts County can still get an automatic promotion place themselves. They need to win and hope that results go their way. Coming up against Doncaster, a victory for Grant McCann's side will win them the league. It sort of depends how much they've been drinking, really. These Doncaster players. I mean, the celebration seemed a bit wild. I think it'll be a draw. Notts County. I mean, look, Meadow Lane's going to be, it's going to be a big crowd this weekend. Notts County will be up for it. I'm sure that Grant McCann in particular will want to win the league. So there's a chance that it could go either way. I think if we do look at it at the table, I know we said cup finals, etc. You do probably fancy Doncaster if you're probably judging it on the season. And to be quite honest, I'm a little bit amazed that Notts County are in this position that they can get autos. Again, it just sort of proves how ridiculous this league is, that the fact that they've got a chance to do that themselves. I just think they'll fall short. Well, both, to be honest, both Notts County and Doncaster. Obviously, Doncaster will want to win the league. Would it be the end of the world? Probably not. They're promoting, aren't they? So I don't know. I'm going to go draw. I don't think anyone will win this.
It's definitely a tricky one. I mean, Notts lost 2 home games. I think they had a 2-1 loss and a 3-1 loss. Not the greatest form, but again, when the stakes are this high, it almost doesn't matter. Still going to reference the fact that Doncaster are unbeaten in 10, which is very impressive, and it's an away game for them where they've typically been better. But at the same time, they've had a couple of decent results at home, so it would suddenly be the most League Two thing that could possibly happen if they would then go and lose away when they've been so good away all season. I'm struggling a little bit, but I think I'm going to back Doncaster.
Yeah, I'm going to back Doncaster as well. I've not been entirely convinced on Notts County recently. Obviously, their form before last week wasn't that great. I think they'd lost 3 of the last 4. There was a bit of pressure on Maynard, but obviously beating Harrogate has reduced that a little bit. I'm just not convinced on Notts County, so I do think Doncaster will win.
Yeah, and that's why I sort of say draw. I'm just sort of not convinced, but I mean, a draw in the grand scheme of things, if it was a regular league game, it'd be great. But obviously, there's a promotion spot for them to play for. I just think they'll fall short. I just think the quality of Doncaster will be enough to deny them that. But I don't know. But like I said, I do think Notts will be up for this one way or another. I mean, if you can't get up for this sort of game, then you're in the wrong sport, basically. Which leads quite nicely to Port Vale. They come up against Gillingham. Gillingham have been unbeaten for quite a long time. A lot of them have been draws. I mean, the draw specialists since Gareth Ainsworth has come in. Port Vale sealed their promotion last week with a 2-0 win at AFC Wimbledon. As I said that I think Doncaster will draw, I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling that Port Vale are at home, and I think they'll win. I honestly think Port Vale will win and therefore win the league. That's just what I think, and that'll obviously mean ending Gillingham's unbeaten run. They had 2 red cards last week against Swindon, I've just seen as well. But I think it will be a cracking day at Vale Park at the weekend. I honestly think Port Vale will win, and I think they'll win the league.
I mean, that would be a way to do it, wouldn't it? As you've said, Gillingham are on an 11-game unbeaten run, which is very impressive, annoyingly. As obviously I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Ainsworth, but I don't know. I think Gillingham is more. It's although it doesn't mean anything technically, it's more about the way they're setting themselves up for next season. The way that Colchester did last year, actually, they just made themselves very, very tough to beat under Cowleys for the rest of the season. And I think that's kind of what they're going to do again. I think this is actually going to be a 1-1 draw.
I don't think it'll be easy for Port Vale, like you said, but Port Vale have loads of goals in them. Gillingham don't, and they haven't for a number of years. So I do think Port Vale will win, but I don't think they'll win the title because I said Doncaster will win.
I think in terms of squads as well, it's quite a matchup. That's what I sort of think with it. I just think Port Vale have the more quality, and I just think they'll win. I don't think it'll be, it won't be a high scoring game by any means. I could just see Port Vale just getting the job done, and I mean and they can be celebrating even more. So, I mean, their admin was having fun. I mean, if you've seen it the other day. One more game to get through. It's a game that, in the grand scheme of League Two, it means absolutely nothing. Swindon come up against MK Dons. I don't really care. I think let's just say MK Dons and this miserable season on a win.
Sure, that works for me. I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, Swindon's last couple of games have been poor. We are yet to concede a goal under Paul Vaughan. In fact, we've only actually conceded 2 shots on target in the 3 games we've played under him so far. I do think we're going to lose that clean sheet record, but I do still think we're going to win.
Not so sure, because if you look at MK, yes, they've improved defensively, but Swindon have scored 14 in their last 5 games. So to try and keep that clean sheet record against such a good attacking side, I'm not so sure. So I'm going to say Swindon will win it.
I just think, I mean, their focus is next season, isn't it? And I think Swindon are a side to keep an eye on. I think obviously Holloway, the job he's done there since he's come in has been quite good. In fact, that's underselling that a little bit. I think it's a terrific job he's done there. But obviously, they knows there's nothing to play for. He gives Paul Warren another look at some of these players before he has to make a few decisions over the summer, which I'm sure he will do. Sort of mould it his squad. But I think the same could be said for Holloway. I think for Swindon, eventually, from what has been a disastrous campaign, it's turned into actually quite a solid one. And Holloway's appointment certainly given him the squad the kick up the backs that they needed. I just think MK Dons, they've been quite solid enough these games. I mean, look, this Swindon team. Look, I'm not sure how much of that Swindon team will stay next season, but I could just see MK getting a result, to be honest. And I'm sure it'll be a nice way to go out on this season. After, a miserable season with lots of promise at the start, but there's fallen flat in its face. It'll certainly be something nice to go at and look ahead to the new season. But that's where we'll wrap it up. I think we should probably say to whichever teams are competing for what this weekend, if you have a title, if you're for the automatic promotion spot, the last one available, if you're one of the teams challenging to make the playoffs this weekend, I wish you all the best, unless you're AFC Wimbledon. I hope you have a miserable day. But look, I think everyone else will be saying the same about everyone else. So that's just it. That's where we wrap up this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be back on probably Monday when you hear this for the final day review, and then we'll start to look at the playoffs in a little bit more detail, and a couple of things to come on. We've got our predictions at the start of the season to look back on. I'm not looking forward to doing that, but we've got some plans coming over these next few weeks. As the football seems to die down a little bit, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of a season. We've mentioned about the quality, but in terms of drama, there's been nothing quite like League Two this season. What a bonkers league it has been. Thank you guys so much for all the support you've given us this season. We'll be back for the next episode, like I said, on Monday. And yeah, take care for now. We'll see you on the other side. God help us.